Hi there. This video is all about callbacks for white label Embed from Locoia. As a software company, if you're using Embed from us, you can see here the connector Stripe. And if your customers click on the connect button and enter their credentials, so meaning the API key from Stripe, in that second, you may want to get a callback with a lot of information back to your software. How that is done, I'll explain in the next few minutes. First, I want to differentiate, looking at our docs, the parameter redirect URL from callbacks. This is really where the browser should be redirected to after a successful authentication with Locoia white label embed. This is nothing to do with callbacks, but is similar. Let's go one step further and have a look at how to integrate the white label embed. As you see here, using Single Sign On and using a JWT token, you can send us a variety of parameters. You can send us your internal username, ID, account ID, name, etc. And you can send us a few information on the embed state. This can be used in order to pass in parameters that we send you in callbacks upon creation and deletion of any embed of each of your customers. Let's take a look how this is done. As a prerequisite, you need a connector within Locoia. Either you have a full own real connector, or you just ask us to create a mock connector in order to have one specific action. And you see this action here. It's called trigger by embed. And you can configure this very easily. You just need a password field. And this is to protect that this action, which is a virtual action, is only used by your embed flows and cannot be used by other customers. And number two, you set up a pre-save and on-delete flow. And what those flows are, I'll explain in just a little bit, but you need to associate them here, both of them. Let's go to one of these flows and have a look how they look like. Here's a flow example, and you can find those on the community library and just copy them over. This is basically being triggered in the second where one of your customers initiates a login process and an embedded flow is created as an individual instance. And this is triggered and can send you the callback. And how that is done, we'll look at now. First, as discussed, we are just checking for the password field. So essentially, the password is passed as a parameter, and you can determine here some kind of fancy password that is just a little internal check that this action cannot be used by any other customer on our platform, just by you knowing this password. The second one is the send request to your callback endpoint. If you look at this, this is essentially a variable that a callback URL variable that is passed by you in the single sign-on step, meaning you can tell us exactly what callback URL you want to be called. Let's say you take a UUID for one specific customer that is logging in. We can use this here to make this callback back to your platform using our own workflow. So super convenient. Of course, if you want to add additional security headers, you can include those here. And for example, you could header one, you can include those here. And basically, that's the general configuration. And as for the payload, the data sent on the body, this can be done here. And you can just reference any parameter that you previously passed in here. So this can be any of the standard fields or even custom fields that you pass us in the embed state. And you see here nicely how they are used. And pretty much that's it. The third step is just in order to work as we're leveraging a feature that we're using in other places. And this, you can just leave this as it is. It just needs to be there to work. And that's it, how you can configure the, as you see in the name, create flow. And the exact same goes for the delete flow. And just to repeat that, they just need to be included here on the pre-save and on the delete flow IDs here. And you can just type and it will autocomplete these flows and you can select them. And basically, that's it to create callbacks on Locoia.